Did the San Francisco 49ers improved after the NFL draft? Well, we're going to break it all down right after this. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, Sourdough Squad? Hopefully, you guys had a fantastic weekend as the NFL draft comes to a close. Draft season is officially over, and we have a much better idea of what the San Francisco 49ers are trying. What those guys got up their sleeves over there, what those guys are cooking over there in Santa Clara. We clearly have a much better idea because we know who they finally drafted. So obviously, one of the things that we are going to look at is, did this team get better? Did they and obviously there's plenty of room for uh these picks, these players and all that stuff to evolve and improve, but we're going to talk about it. And we're going to see at surface level going into the draft and out of the draft how much of an improvement we saw from the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, got to shout out the Sourdough Squad. Gav says he's here for the Braden Willis hype train. I think I might be right there with you. Justin says he's hyped for the Fisher highlights. I got into those highlights as well. We're going to talk about it. And we know, man, the San Francisco 49ers always find draft gems when it comes to undrafted free agents. So the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to come away with a couple guys that are going to be able to provide value here, and especially with what they were able to take care of in the draft. Shout out to everyone, as always, tapping in and giving up good vibes. So let's talk about where the San Francisco 49ers improved the most. You probably would have to say that the San Francisco 49ers improved the most. I'd say there's two rooms up for the award of most improved. I'm going to start with the tight end room. I think the tight end room is definitely in the conversation for most improved because obviously they took two. And this was something that going into the draft, I was all about. Even in Jason Aponte's and I State of the Franchise, we took two tight ends because it felt like that's where it needed to go. The San Francisco 49ers carried four tight ends last year. They had three going into the draft. So very much so, two tight ends were in the cards, and hey, we're down for it. Because before that, it was Kittle, as we know, very top loaded tight end room where the top is heavy. You got a top two tight end, and he's not number two at the top of the list. But then you go down and you get into Warner and Dwelly and no more Croft. We know Warner is a capable blocker, but we just haven't seen him do it as a receiver, so it makes him one-dimensional. And Dwelly, it's kind of the inverse of that. Dwelly is more of a pass-catching tight end with limited physical tools and really diminished as a blocker throughout the last 2 years. So we knew the tight end room was going to be something that the San Francisco 49ers needed to address, and they did it. They got Cameron Latu, tight end out of Alabama, and then Braden Willis, tight end out of Oklahoma. The interesting thing with the two tight ends that they drafted, they're I would say like they probably went a little high on Latu in regards to draft, uh, slotting of value. They probably went a little high, but they got crazy good value in Braden Willis. Um, so I think it all kind of evens out, but I think the San Francisco 49ers did get better with their tight end room. I think Braden Willis and the combination of Cameron Latu, uh, I would say Cameron Latu is a little bit more of a complete tight end. He doesn't test through the roof or anything. He doesn't have crazy speed or anything like that, but he is a physical tight end. He is going to invite contact, and I would imagine the San Francisco 49ers do like that about him. Also, when you look at Braden Willis, I mean, that's a guy who has phenomenal ball skills. He's going to go up, high point, and snatch that football if you throw it at him. Um, he also has some H-back versatility. So they got two guys that I think can fill multiple roles and kind of, you know, I think with the selections and where they took him, Latu in the third, and then you get Braden Willis in the seventh. Like I said, I think you could quantify Latu maybe getting drafted a round or two early, but then you can talk about Braden Willis getting drafted a round or two maybe late. So all things considered, um, I I like both the tight ends. I don't love them yet, and I will discern my love for these new tight ends when training camp rolls around and I can get my eyes on them and we can see them a little bit more. I had done more work previously on other tight ends, but again, this was a deep tight end class. It's probably the deepest tight end class that we've seen since 2017 when George Kittle came out. So all things considered, though, I do think the tight end room got better, which is a positive, and we will have some competition heading in to training camp. If we had to talk about other rooms that got better, I would say you could make the case that the next best room to improve, would you say, was it a linebacker or safety? I think I might have to go. This one's honestly tough because I like D Winters a lot and I like Jalen Graham, but they got arguably one of the best safeties in the class in Jair Brown. Um, Jair Brown, I think from a physical tool standpoint, from a mental processing standpoint, from an instinctual ball hawking standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, Jair Brown is phenomenal, phenomenal selection. When you look at everything, when you look at the success that Tashawn Gibson had in the 49ers defense last year and the mold that Tashawn Gibson is, like, think of Jair Brown as a younger, faster, more upside to Sean Gibson. And Gibson has been a Pro Bowler at other stops before he came to the 49ers as a 31, 32-year-old veteran. Um, so we've seen the success that Gibson has had. Well, think of Jair Brown a little bit as, like, I wouldn't say that's the player comp or anything like that, but it's kind of understanding how those two are used in the defense. Um, I think he could be put into that similar mode. Um, he's going to be phenomenal. He can play around the line of scrimmage. He can shoot the gaps. He can come off the edge in the physical sense, and he can play coverage. Um, and he has ball hawking capability. So if you want to call it the DB room and you add Luter to the mix, Then maybe if you're calling it the DBs versus linebackers, maybe the DBs take the cake in regards to which room got better the most. But when you look at the linebacking room and you look at uh, what the 49ers were able to add in D. Winters and Jalen Graham, I mean, you're talking about fast linebackers. And what else is new? The San Francisco 49ers, if I was joking around with Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, current 49ers linebacker, but it's almost like a prerequisite that you have to play safety prior to switching over to linebacker. I spoke to Jalen Graham at the combine, and I know for a fact that he was a converted safety to linebacker, is one of the things that we talked about. Um, so Jalen has great measurables. He definitely passes the eye test. I remember I was talking to him, and his muscles were just bulging out his shirt. I was like, "Geez, man, you must he must work out." But Jalen Graham in the 7th, you get D. Winters in the late rounds. D. Winters, man, the more I look into him, the more you watch, he feels like your prototypical 49er. I mean, snagging him in the 6th round at pick 216, you're getting a potential. I would say he has starting upside. Now, I don't know when and if he could start, but I see the upside there. And especially with what the San Francisco 49ers are looking for at linebacker, they're looking for twitched up guys who are physical and get after the ball. When you look at D. Winters, you look at his ability to be able to come downhill. I mean, that guy is fast, extremely fast, and he fits exactly what the 49ers are looking for. I think it was John Lynch who kind of compared him a little bit more to Dre Greenlaw. I think that's a perfect comp for like what to expect from D. Winters. He kind of has that Dre Greenlaw ability, go sideline to sideline, north south, play in coverage, and get his nose dirty. D. Winters in the 6th round. I mean, we could be talking about him in a couple years from now as being one of those, late round gems that we constantly are talking about with the San Francisco 49ers. So I think the linebacking room got better when they needed to get better because, again, Aziz Al-Shaair leaves for the Tennessee Titans. And you do have Oren Burks, Marcelino McCrary Ball's undrafted free agent, but you add a guy like D. Winters, who had, according to PFF, had 9 sacks playing off-ball linebacker. 9 sacks season. So that's crazy. So he's got some production to back up the measurable traits that he brings to the table. So that is really, really good sign for the San Francisco 49ers. And, they got what is going to be really interesting to see is how Robert Beal, the defensive end out of Georgia, uh, would fit in to what the San Francisco 49ers are doing. Quickly, Tisha said Jadakiss, one of the undrafted free agents, wide receiver, said he didn't sign with us. I did see that after it was originally reported that he did. I saw that he also said that he hasn't signed anywhere yet. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But Beal's going to be an interesting one because from a traits perspective, I think he fits what the 49ers are looking for from a measurable standpoint. Long arms, good size, I think around 6'4", and runs sub 4.5 40. He's always fast, and he is a bit relentless as well. So Beal is going to be an interesting one. But I think with the edge situation, what do you guys make of before the draft, the San Francisco 49ers clearing up a bunch of cap space for now it wasn't necessarily for Brandon Ayuk. I think it was thought of like initially that when you saw the 49ers create upwards of I think close to $9 million in cap space by restructuring Christian McCaffrey. I think the thought was it could have been for Brandon Ayuk's fifth-year option that was picked up. The fifth-year option doesn't kick in until 2024. So the 49ers created a bunch of cap space, and some of it likely for the rookie draft class that they had to sign. But the money that they created was far more than just the rookie draft class or anything of that nature. So, are the San Francisco 49ers looking at edge? What's wild right now and what continues to be wild about free agency is that there are a lot of starting quality edge still available. Um, that you can go get. You see it in the chat. Yannick is still out there. Frank Clark is still out there. You still got guys like Jadeveon Clowney. So the San Francisco 49ers, maybe they're going to be adding more edge. Like I like Beal. He seems like a situational pass rusher. But as we've seen from the San Francisco 49ers, you can never have enough pass rushers. So what's going to be interesting is are the San Francisco 49ers going to go after someone and get them in here in the coming days? I don't know. It is going to be fascinating because I still think, even though Beal has a lot of upside and could definitely fit into what the San Francisco 49ers are doing, I do believe that they can still improve the position. So it will be very, very interesting to see what the 49ers continue to do at edge because are they comfortable right now going into a season with Cleveland Furl, Drake Jackson, Robert Beal as kind of your top three? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. So we'll see how that ultimately plays out. But I like the value in the fifth round. Darrell Luter Jr. in the fifth round as well. South Alabama cornerback. I like the way that he plays, and I like the fit and the value there. So that's going to be interesting to have him in the room or in the building for the San Francisco 49ers. Uh, Ronnie Bell in the seventh is an interesting draft selection because, as we know, the San Francisco 49ers are pretty stacked at wide receiver for the most part. They carried 5 last year. I don't necessarily see Ronnie Bell coming in and challenging Danny Gray for his spot. Or Ray McLeod or Jawan Jennings. Maybe this is a development for a year or two down the road. Maybe they saw the value of Ronnie Bell in the 7th round and they felt that, hey, we'll just get Ronnie Bell into the program. We'll get him on the practice squad and see what he could be in a year or two from now. But the 49ers have quite a bit of wide receivers. Obviously, we know they brought in Chris Connolly as well right before the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what his fit is. But I think the most interesting thing about, again, like what we talked about, I guess we buried the lead a little bit. We haven't talked about 49ers kicking sensation, Jake Moody. Shout out Jake Moody. I haven't made a hype edit in a while. Probably, I mean, we're talking months, months and months and months since I've made a quick little video edit. Uh, I made a kicker edit. I did it. Um, it was something that, like, when we were all kind of freaking out about the kicker, it was like, man, I think it's time that we got to embrace it. That we just have to embrace it, and we got to turn him into a cult legend. Uh, not cult, COLTCULT, a cult figure. Um, and all that stuff. Tisha said, "Do you know if Jair Brown is at the facility?" I would imagine he's. It's what is today? Monday. Yeah, I would imagine he's been there. I don't know if he's still there, but I imagine he's there. They normally get the prospects in either day of, depending when, or they fly them in. So yeah, I definitely anticipate that Jair Brown is in the building. But the San Francisco 49ers, let's go. Hey, did you guys see Jake Moody even commented on the edit? So Jake Moody was even feeling the edit um, that we had popping. But again, when we try to quantify it, it's like they didn't have a solidified starter at kicker, right? So what did they do? They went and got the best kicker. Um, and then again, what helped me feel better about them getting the kicker in the third was the fact that the Patriots traded up. They used multiple picks to get their kicker. They traded up into the fourth to get the GOAT, Chad Ryland, out of Maryland. So I feel better about the value part of it because that's just where my hangup is. My hangup is not that Jake Moody isn't going to be a good kicker or anything like that. Again, it's just the value, right? Taking the kicker in the third round. And that's why, for me personally, seeing the Patriots trading up for a kicker made me feel better about the value conversation because I was left thinking, could the 49ers have waited or traded back into the fourth? Maybe got a kind of premier position such as offensive line or D line opposed to a kicker. But all things considered, I'll be fine. I'm over. I'm I'm I've come to grips, and we're now going to lean into Jake Moody being the future kicking goat of the San Francisco 49ers. It's the only option. He's got to be the goat. We need Jake Moody to turn up. And if he comes in and he does just that and wins us games, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to care uh, at all. Just, we're still working through it now. But when it's all said and done, if Jake Moody is the kicker for the San Francisco 49ers for 10 plus years and is breaking franchise records and winning football games for the 49ers, we good. Oh. The Arizona Cardinals are not picking up the fifth-year option of Isaiah Simmons. That's interesting. So, former first-round pick Isaiah Simmons, the guy who was built in a lab to stop George Kittle type tight ends, which hasn't come to fruition, at least as of yet, will not be getting his fifth-year option picked up. Justin says, I feel like Laybourne might Jordan Mason his way onto the roster. Listen, when we started to do like right initially, kind of after we heard about the 49ers signing Laybourne and then looking into his history, he's one of these guys that the 49ers got as an undrafted free agent where talent isn't the issue. You're going to run into all these prospects all the time. Being a D2 kid myself, I ran into a lot of these players where they had no business being at the community college level or no business being at the D2 level, but we understand things happen in people's lives that doesn't necessarily translate them to being able to play D1 football. Well, Laybourne is a guy who was a highly recruited prospect, uh, went to Florida State and then suffered an injury and then was out of football for a while and then landed with Marshall after some years off. And what you can quickly see is that the talent ain't the issue. He's got talent. He's fast. He's shifty. He's got cuts. He's got vision. He has production. He produced at a high level for Marshall. So this is one of those guys where like his path to the NFL might not have been what he envisioned for himself or being a highly touted prospect and having played for Florida State and doing all that, but that doesn't mean like I think of like Stephon Diggs. I remember Stephon Diggs was a fifth round draft pick. I remember Stephon Diggs coming out of high school back when I was actually like into scouting high school prospects for the colleges because I was that crazy about football. And I remember Stephon Diggs, highly rated prospect, goes to Maryland, doesn't really produce at a high level. That it didn't mean that talent wasn't there. Didn't mean he didn't lack talent. It was just like his path to the NFL didn't translate to, being what you would think would be ultra successful. But look at Stephon Diggs, man. Dude's a dog. So Laybourne kind of reminds me of that. Um, he's very talented. Like he's talented. His path is probably why he went undrafted. He's the guy who goes undrafted because of of where he is up to this point, not because he doesn't have football talent, if that makes sense. So the 49ers got talent. And this could be a guy that is going to make it very difficult for the 49ers yet again with one of these running backs. There's a bunch of these undrafted guys. Again, the San Francisco 49ers know how to identify some of these undrafted guys. D Buck says super excited about Jake the Jackhammer Coletto. Seems he ran the Wildcat at Oregon. Could have quarterback ability without taking a quarterback roster spot. Thoughts? From what I know about him is that he's kind of a do-it-all type of prospect. He was listed as a linebacker slash fullback, which feels like what the San Francisco 49ers are going for with his selection as an undrafted free agent. Is I liked Luepke, the fullback from North Dakota State. I really liked him as a potential kind of developmental prospect in waiting behind Kyle Juszczyk, but that's what this is what Jack Coletto feels like. 6'3", 240 pounds. He was a captain on Oregon State. He really, didn't put up a ton of production from a yardage total standpoint. He put up 103 rushing yards in 2022, 144 rushing yards in 2021, and 128 in 2020. You see the kind of there's not a lot of like big time production in that regard. But if you pop on over, he had 6 touchdowns last year. He had 8 touchdowns in 2021, and if you even go back to his freshman year in 2018, he had 16 yards, but 5 touchdowns. So, this, in the little bit that I've seen from him, he feels like a football have probably a super defined role in regards to, like, you know, and I think that's probably why you see him in the Wildcat. He's just kind of a football player. Um, and yeah, he does have the ability to play Wildcat, but I would say he seems more like a fullback type. More like, let's get this guy in the program now. He's a football player. He's got all those intangible qualities that we want, and we can develop this guy into a Kyle Juszczyk type uh, fullback. Um, so I think that's what the 49ers are going to do with him. And if they can get some Wildcat production out of him, hey, why not? Jerome says, I'm excited about Joey Fisher. Do you think him being from a D2 and short arms are the reason he went undrafted? 100%. Absolutely. I would say that's why he went undrafted. I think he could have been drafted as like a 7th round draft prospect. But also the fact that he went undrafted, um, I think is not necessarily a huge detriment. Um, because I get it, it's D2. I play D2, so I can give you a little bit of thought process into that. Um, you look at Joey Fisher's tape, at least I've only seen his junior year. I've only seen his junior year highlights because it's impossible to get Shepherd film, at least from what I've been able to try to get. But I have seen his, I think it was like 8-minute long junior year highlight where every clip is him throwing someone on the ground. Now, clearly, Joey Fisher outmatched and out physical what looks to be any defensive end that he came across at the D2 level. So what they're going to have to try to extrapolate is, can he do that against tougher talent, bigger bodies, longer arms, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's what's going to be interesting. Joey Fisher excites me. When you look at the physical nature that he brings, you also see he already has the snatch technique in his repertoire of being able to get guys on the ground who overextend and try to go for the long arm. He knows how to punch down and he knows how to snatch the top of the pads. So you see some technical ability. I like his base. You see he's got a really wide base. He can sink his hips. Those things he's not going to have to learn in the NFL, which is a huge plus. So what I see with Fisher is, do the 49ers value him at tackle, or do they value him as a Brunskill type, a guy who can play tackle, but a guy who can also play guard and center? I think that's what they're going to be looking from Joey Fisher. I think Joey Fisher is an extremely intriguing prospect. He seems like a guy you could probably sneak around to the practice squad and continue to develop, because I don't know if he's going to beat out guys like Nick Sakel right now, but Joey Fisher's like you can tell the physicality that he brings, that's just him. That's a part of his game, and once he gets his hands on you, that's like it's like a death sentence, at least for these D2 defensive ends. He is out here tossing dudes left and right, and I mean, I don't have to just tell you. I can show you. I got the clips right here, so why not? Why not? Shall we? Shall we look at a little bit of Joey Fisher live? Why not? I already posted a little bit a video on him earlier, but let's do a live. Why shall we? Shall we dabble in some Joey Fisher tape? Cuz why not? All right. So I mean, you get into this thing and all Joey Fisher is doing throughout this 8-minute tape is demolish guys. Like, why is this guy's leg like, why is he doing a little twirly, like, what you hear all the time from any type of offensive line coach is punish jumpers. If someone's gonna jump and leave their feet, like, look why is his arm doing that? Why is this defensive end arm and leg like that? And you can see Fisher's got a right stranglehold of his right shoulder. And the second that this defensive end tries to leave the ground, it's it's wraps. He doesn't even like slam him all the way, just kind of lets him go. Uh and that I think I like that it's the first play because that's all he does. And I think this particular one, you get the little snatch. We talked about the snatch. Look at the hand come over the top, bring down. So you can already see the it's a so he's got a wide set, right? Sometimes you talk about a vertical pass set, you got more of a wide set. So you can see his right foot is kind of angling out, keeping the wide base. What do we talk about with Trent Williams all the time in the double pass set? Look at him kick that right foot back. Ooh! Kick that right foot back. This boy got a little Trent Williams in him. So you get the wide set, reset and balance, snatch, ground. So, yes, Joey Fisher is very strong and nasty. You can see the nastiness. He's no cow. He's a bull. You talk about it with the offensive line all the time. Is he a cow? Is he a bull? This is a bull. But what I like about it is that he already shows like this is some Trent Williams stuff. Trent Williams does this. Double pass set, wide set, kick the foot back, snatch, toast. So I do think this guy can at minimum show starting caliber upside. Like he's just tossing guys left and right. Like look at that stance. The stance gets me excited because one of the things with offensive linemen, and again, he's 6'5, 315 pounds. One of the things with offensive linemen, especially your bigger offensive linemen, is hip bend. Where's the hip? What's the hip flexibility looking like? You see that big sumo squat? That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. That means he doesn't have to try to get that low. That's just it's in his DNA. And then he's a finisher. So, yes, his knock is short arms, but you can see once he gets those hooks on you, you're cooked. Like he's cooking dudes. Like he gets a little aid from the dude tripping, but this is a dude, he's just ragdolling this guy. What's up, coach? He says, I think he's got a shot at right tackle. Absolutely. I think he's got a shot at right tackle. I definitely think he's got a shot at right tackle. I don't think he's going to start in front of Colton McKivitz. I think Colton McKivitz is for sure your starter next year. But I think with Joey Fisher, what you're looking at is, okay, one, can this translate? Can he do this at now the NFL level, going from D2 to the NFL? What does he look like against, your Drake Jacksons, your Cleveland Furls? I mean, obviously Nick Bosa is going to give him a run for his money, but can he has the prerequisites to play offensive line at the next level. That's there. That's given. I see the technique. He's got the size. Knock on him is arm length. But again, you get the snatch here. He knows what he's doing. He's got a plan. You see that right hand, that white glove down by his hip? That's intentional. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's going for a snatch. So now he's waiting for the D line to show hands. D line shows hands, snatch, engaged, cooks him. So what I see is a guy who can play the game within the game. I see the technical ability already there. Now I don't love this pass set. It looks like he's just taken. I don't love this particular pass set by him, but what you can see is he has the ability to do it. He can probably get better at it, and that's it. This is great to work with. You're going to be able to work with this at the next level. The hands, he's got phenomenal hands. Punch, he shows ability to anchor. Again, he has that mean streak that typically are reserved for your defensive lineman. But when you get it in an offensive lineman, that's nice. He does kind of give me some Feliciano vibes a little bit. But I think this is a guy that could absolutely play at the next level. We're just going to see what it looks like when he actually gets out there and translates it. So the 49ers, again, continue to show that they know how to identify undrafted free agent talent. And it doesn't matter where you played, it's just about where you go. And when you look at a guy like this, uh, he finishes blocks. He's always looking to get guys on the ground. Again, I love the base. I think he can clean up his feet a little bit, but so can every other offensive lineman to ever play football. He has those things that are hard to teach. Can't teach size, can't teach nastiness. You either have it or you don't. He's nasty. Look at that. Look at that. He's just look at that. Oh, you can't really see it because let me get the super chat out the way. Watch him ride this dude and not get up. There's a reason why he left that in his highlight. They could have cut the highlight right here. Could have cut it. No, that's very intentional. Very intentional of why he left that there. Because again, it speaks to his mentality. So, yeah, I like this. This pick is great. If they would have got him in the 7th round, I'd have been happy. If they would have drafted him in the 6th round, I probably would have been happy. If they would have drafted him in the 5th round, I probably would have been happy. I think even Mel Kiper, ESPN draft analyst, Mel. I think he mocked Fisher to the 49ers at pick 99. So this is a great pick. Great undrafted free agent. So we'll see. We'll see how it translates to camp. But I really like the addition of Fisher. I see it. I see it. Is it at tackle? Could be. Is it at guard? Could be. Is that center? Could be. He might have some position versatility to him. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Obviously, the next litmus test is how can he translate to NFL quality speed rushers? That's going to be the next. If he can handle NFL quality speed rushers, oh yeah, he's a tackle. If he has trouble with NFL quality speed rushers, maybe kicks inside. So we'll see. But at minimum, they might have found yet again another gem. So good for them. And maybe even a guy that they could get on their practice squad too. So wait, what do we have here? We have some new staff announcements. Daniel Bullock's defensive backs coach, Cameron Brown, defensive quality control, Andrew Hayes Stalker, assistant defensive backs coach, Nick Sorensen, defensive passing game specialist, Nichols coach. Nick Sorensen. Why does he sound like? Why is that a name that sounds familiar to me? Is he a former player? I don't know. Maybe. Nothing really earth-shattering there. But overall, did the San Francisco 49ers get better than what they were going into the draft? I would say so. I mean, they added a bunch of players, so they had to get better, right? So I do think the San Francisco 49ers got better with some of this crop, and we're going to continue to get into it and find out more and like more. And again, once we can start stacking these guys against other players on the roster, then we're going to have an even better idea of what that's going to look like. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to how it all plays out for the San Francisco 49ers. And if the kicker pick becomes a Hall of Fame player, hey, we're never going to question. Every time I say, like, I'm never questioning the 49ers again. Oh, man. That kicker pick in the third round will be legendary, like, forever. Forever. But I'm coming around to it. I'm definitely coming around to it. So I think the 49ers have done all right. Suspect quarterback room with the injury. Do you guys agree? Do you think the quarterback room is suspect? I think the quarterback room's all right as well. I think the 49ers with Trey Lance. What's interesting about the quarterback room is I haven't seen a quarterback added yet. I was anticipating for sure that they're going to begin an undrafted free agent for sure. And they haven't. I have not seen the 49ers add an undrafted free agent quarterback yet. So that made me look into the free agent quarterbacks. Matt Ryan's still out there. We're going to get Matt Ryan on the San Francisco 49ers. They need more quarterbacks. It doesn't matter. They need more. They need camp arms. They need what it sounds like, if Purdy's not gonna be ready for week 1, it sounds like they're for sure going to need, at minimum 2 or yeah, I would say 2 more, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate the super chat. Justin says, "What do you think about Spencer Wagee?" I can't find clips of him at all, but his RAS looked really impressive. I've been trying to hunt down some clips as well. I've gotten a couple. Nothing super crazy, but if I can find something that can really help me a little bit more, I'm looking forward to it because his whole career is really interesting. He's been in college football since 2018. He's 6'5", 282 pounds, and he had like no production in 2018. He just had 2 forced fumbles in 2019, so it feels like maybe he was like a special teamer or something. He had another forced fumble in 2020. He had 1 total tackle in 2021, and then in 2022, boom, 47 tackles total with 11 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. So, I mean, he was able to turn it on last year with 11 sacks. And he's playing in the Alabama of the FCS. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he could be like our Max Crosby, in a sense, kind of one of those relentless pass rushers. Um, but yeah, I'm still trying to look for more just so I can get a better idea. I'm still looking into a bunch of these guys for sure. Um, so but yeah, he's interesting. So a bunch of these guys are interesting, for sure. So, uh, gonna be fascinating to see who actually steps up and steps out. Spencer, seen a couple people excited about him. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think people are really struggling with the understanding that you need a certain amount of quarterbacks for training camp. I think it's like they're not signing any quarterback probably to come in and compete with Brock, Trey, or Sam. They need camp arms. They need more depth to get through training camp. They're not signing a quarterback to come in and truly compete with any of these guys. They need camp arms. They need more bodies in the room. It'd be like having 4 offensive linemen. You just or like having 6 offensive linemen. You have 5 starters, but you need some depth. You need some guys to be able to come in and rotate during training camp. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But so far, as we're getting through the draft, we're getting through the undrafted free agents. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's the home run that some other teams had. I think the Seattle Seahawks had one of the best drafts. Man, Seattle Seahawks 2 years in a row, just phenomenal drafts. I think the Colts had an insane draft. What they were able to bring in was insane, in regards to how many and what they got. The Colts went crazy with their draft class. Um, the Eagles had a great draft. So I wouldn't say the 49ers had a great draft. I'd say they had a good draft. Uh, but there were some teams that really had great drafts. At least from how we perceive it right now. Obviously, that can all change a couple years down the road. But as we perceive it now, I would say the 49ers had a good draft. I wouldn't say they had a great draft. I wouldn't say they had a bad draft. I'd say, considering what it was, picking in the third, all that type of stuff, them going up and getting Jair Brown, getting a kicker, Cameron Latu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was a good draft. Wasn't a great draft. It was a good draft. Other teams had great drafts. Colts had a great draft. I think Seattle had a great draft. I think low key sneaky. Both Cardinals and Rams had pretty good drafts. So a lot of competition as always within division, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. We will see how it goes. Uh, as we get ready for training camp. So I think what's next is we're still kind of in the off-season program portion. We're going to have rookie mini camp. So it'll be the first time that we get our eyes on these rookies. They'll probably bring in some tryout guys, things of that nature. But, you know, when we look at the draft, the 49ers got guys that are absolutely going to make the roster. And they also got a couple undrafted free agent guys that we can, I think, confidently say are going to push for a roster spot. So that will be very interesting to see play out when it's all said and done. And again, the San Francisco 49ers might not be done adding talent. They could sign a defensive end here pretty soon. If they had to sign a defensive end, I'd like to see them sign Yannick Ngakoue. I think if you got Yannick Ngakoue in the building, again, he's a true 3-down edge, still has some upside to him. I think if you can get Yannick after the draft, I mean, that would feel like a pretty massive W. So it'll be interesting, though, to see what the San Francisco 49ers do from that standpoint, because I do think they're not done adding talent to this roster, and there are some good players still available. Uh, I do think that the Texans had a really good draft as well. I love that they traded back up, got Will Anderson. I thought D'Amico did a good job. He got Henry To'oTo'o late as well. I thought that was a pretty good draft pick based on the value that they got him at. Um, when is Nick Bosa's? They're probably going to announce it right before training camp. That's how the 49ers do contracts. They like to kind of wait it out, and they'll probably announce it right before training camp. You remember Debo didn't get announced until into training camp, so look for a Bosa announcement late July, early August is probably when it's going to happen. Seattle not picking up Brooks' fifth year. I did see that coming off ACL injury. Brooks has been one of their better linebackers, not picking up his fifth year option. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I think we can still keep an eye on these Niners. I don't think they're done adding talent and trying to make this team better and continue to be competitive. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But I like where we're headed. And I do think the San Francisco 49ers are going to put us in a good spot. So I'm just happy that I'm not ultra angry or anything like that. I know the initial shock of the kicker pick was I didn't think they would actually do it. I didn't think they would do it. They did it. It's fine. and we've accepted it, and we have processed it and managed it to the best of our abilities. But definitely excited about where the 49ers are headed. So it's going to be another fun year, and we are now flying into the real off season. The real off season has begun. Did my draft crush get drafted? If you're talking about Saldivari went like 3 picks after we went. He got picked by the Saints. If you're talking about Saldivari. But as always, appreciate all you guys for tapping in. And we'll continue to dive into these prospects, unearth more information, and try to get some film breakdowns out and all that good stuff. But until then, appreciate you guys. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.